Hey, how's it going, guys? Happy Friday. Some interesting news in the world of DC. James Gunn actually just announced a few projects that they're actually moving forward with. If you know anything about James Gunn, one of the things that he actually said when he took over the DC universe, or DC, I guess I should say, is that he would not release any titles for any projects that he was working on unless they had actually really written scripts or really worked hard on them, finding directors and you know what I mean? So because obviously him coming from the Marvel universe, Marvel always used to give us this timeline, right? Of so many projects. And a lot of it was, this is what we're planning. And then you later learn that they haven't really worked a lot on them, or they end up rushing and end up fumbling like they did with the Marvels, you know? So he's actually said he's not really going to release anything unless or until he knows that that project is actually fully underway. So the fact that he actually mentioned a few projects is actually really cool, which means they're really fully on board with them. The first animated series that they're actually going to focus on is a Green Lantern series that will focus on Jessica Cruz. If you're unfamiliar with Jessica Cruz, she's actually a Green Lantern. The show will focus on her being in high school. So she's young, she's a teenager, and she ends up finding a power ring or a Green Lantern ring. Ends up realizing that she's now part of this intergalactic force and she's a superhero. She, you know, in the comics, she actually ends up making a lot of mistakes growing because she is conflicted. On the one hand, she wants to stay young and be a kid. On the other hand, she's been thrust into being a superhero, which comes with responsibility. So that the show will actually focus on her growth in this process, which is actually pretty cool. Another series that they're actually going to focus on, animated series, will be Starfire. Starfire is an alien from a planet called Tamaran. Now, in the comics, she's actually really, really powerful. She's part of, when she ends up on Earth, she ends up being a part of the Titans, or the Teen Titans, depending on which comic book you're reading. And she's extremely powerful. Actually, in the Titans show that was on HBO Max, one of my favorite DC shows ever. This show was 4 seasons, but when I tell you the writing, outstanding. This was rated R, and it was worth it, right? To see this show that, you know, if there's one thing you know about DC, DC isn't afraid to really go there when it comes to being really edgy and dark. So it was fun to see them actually showcase this, because these are young adults with superpowers. And if you don't know anything about the Titans, a lot of them come from, or their counterparts to their, you go from like Dick Grayson, who's Nightwing, to Batman, right? So you have all these young characters who are now thrust in this role where they get to grow. But, this show focused on them finding their own identity. But at the same time, it was the fact that they were very edgy. The writers were very edgy. They gave us really nice dialogue. The fight scenes were brutal, which is kind of fun. But anyway, so Starfire was one of those characters, and the fact that they're actually going to feature or focus on this animated series is actually going to be cool. Now, this, from what we've heard, is they're going to pick up the series or the show itself from when she escapes Tamaran. Now, Starfire is supposed to be the queen of Tamaran. She's in line to be the queen, right? She escapes after there's a coup. And the story will basically focus on her journey in space as she finds her way to Earth. So whatever she goes through, that's what they're going to focus on. And then obviously culminating with her landing on Earth, and then everything happens. So it's actually going to be, I'm excited to see what they're actually going to do with that. They haven't really released who will voice these characters, but we'll wait and see. I'm pretty sure they have an idea of who actually will. A movie that actually surprised me is Clayface. Clayface apparently, or evidently, will come out next year in September. I actually thought that Clayface would feature in the Matt Reeves Batman universe, which is part of DC Elseworlds, not DC Universe. But apparently they're in production for this movie that will actually come out next year in September. If you're unfamiliar with Clayface, he's a supervillain. One of the biggest supervillains, one of the most powerful supervillains, not only in the Batman universe, but in the DC universe. This is a man who can shapeshift into anything and everything. I mean, it is, and I can't wait to see how they actually showcase this, right? I know a bunch of it will be CGI, but I just can't wait to see what they do with this, because this is a really interesting character, right? And they just have to really do a good job with capturing the essence of this incredible villain, you know. And the director they've actually chosen to direct this movie is James Watkins. He actually directed a movie called Speak No Evil, and it was actually a really good movie, not for everybody, obviously, but he's been tasked to actually bring this character to life. We haven't really seen Clayface in live action, especially in the movie, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. So I'm actually surprised that this will actually be part of the DC universe, but it's actually cool. It's good when DC also focuses on supervillains, because, you know, he didn't start off being a supervillain. He was a normal guy who ends up being exposed to certain chemicals, and then he becomes a bad guy because he just struggles to not only find himself, but he struggles with finding work, because not obviously his whole body has changed. He ends up in crime, realizes he can actually be a pretty good criminal, and then here we have Clayface. So it's actually cool that they're actually coming out with this movie, which, again, I'm surprised because I didn't really think they were really going to focus on Clayface in the DC universe. I figured he would actually show up in Matt Reeves' Batman. But anyway, I'm excited because if there's one thing you actually like about DC is their supervillains have character, right? So it's fun when they explore this, especially in live action. So yeah, there are a lot of things happening in DC right now, a lot of shakeups, a lot of projects. Actually, I know James Gunn just mentioned that he's canceled a few projects, hasn't really released which titles they are. A lot of speculation on what's going on. But in the world of gaming, I'm not really big into gaming. You know, my brother's really big on gaming. But in the gaming world, they actually just canceled the Wonder Woman game. And apparently that actually has created a bit of an uproar in fans, because a lot of people are actually anticipating the release of this video game. You know, if there's one thing about DC gaming, DC has incredible titles in DC gaming. Batman Arkham Asylum, one of the most popular video games ever. You know, Injustice, which was actually a video game spawned comic book, spawned animated movies. So DC is well involved when it comes to gaming, and has a huge fan base that love DC content when it comes to gaming. So the fact that they actually canceled, now I haven't really, there's no rhyme reason why they did, because again, they were in production of this game, because he actually had focus. Because if there's one thing he said, is he wants his DC universe to be interconnected, that everything he does, from gaming to animation to TV shows to movies, everything that he does is interconnected, which means that you're going to have characters in live action like Viola Davis, who's Amanda Waller, who will be Amanda Waller. She was Amanda Waller in the DCEU, in Suicide Squad and Black Adam, and Peacemaker, right? And they actually have an animated series where she will be voicing Amanda Waller, you know? So Rick Flag in Creature Commandos, they actually will have a movie where he'll actually be Rick, you know what I mean? So the interconnected part of it will be, if you voice, like, for example, Viola Davis happens to voice Amanda Waller in animation. She's also real Amanda Waller in live action. If Amanda Waller will be in video games, she will voice. You know what I mean? So there's this level of and it kind of mirrors a little bit with what Marvel did in certain ways. Because if you watched What If episodes, they actually used the same actors to play or to actually voice these characters, the same characters or different characters. So it's probably something he's borrowed from that, but I like that idea, because if you're a fan of all these things, and you're gonna end up falling in love with the story, because they'll tell one interesting storyline in the multiverse that he'll actually build. So when it comes to gaming, from what I've read, a lot of people are really anticipating what this video game was going to be, especially because they knew it was going to be really edgy. You know, working with Rocksteady, and Rocksteady's actually brought out a lot of really good DC video games. So we know that they were going to come up with something cool. So if you're into gaming, I can understand why some people are pissed off. But again, I think I'm I'm actually very hopeful with what he's doing. I think he's being very decisive. He's trying not to really, because he's actually said he's going to release 7 projects a year. Now that's 7 projects that includes movies, games, animation, TV shows. So it's not just 7 movies. It's he's going to focus on releasing everything. So, which again, it's easier said than done, but he's been given the reins to DC. And I know he really wants to do a great job, even after all the backlash he's received for Superman and how Superman looks, right? He's really standing firm on his vision. So I guess I like the fact that he's committed. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, as they release way more information, as more titles come in and leave, I will definitely update you guys. I just wanted to come in and let you know, especially if you're a DC fan, this is what's going on in the DC universe. Anyway, I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.